Hi, I'm Katie from What Katie Did, and today I'm going to be talking about the boning that goes inside your corsets and shapewear. I thought about doing this post because I was on Reddit a few days ago and I noticed someone comments that they'd just purchased a corset and the boning inside felt like plastic boning because it was very flexible, and how could this person tell if it was steel or whether it was plastic? And first off, it's difficult for me being in the industry trying not to get involved because this corset was from a reputable corset brand first up, and luckily someone else dived in and said the way you can test is to actually use a magnet. So if you use a magnet along the steel but along the boning, you'll be able to tell whether it's spiral steel or not. But I wanted to talk about boning a little bit because you can't really tell just by the feel of something whether something is spiral steel or not, because there's a lot of different weights of spiral steel boning. Now, spiral steel boning, which inside your corset, is this kind of boning, and it's in a spiral, but it's flat. So if you look at it close up, you can see all the spirals, and the plus point about spiral steel boning is that it bends in all directions. So the boning, you can see it springs back. It also goes sideways, and it is very flexible. So if you look at the corset here, one of our corsets, the spiral steel boning will go down in the side of the corset, and we do double boning, so we've got two bones next to each other. But this one we use for corsets and we use for our waist cinchers when it comes to our little glamour waspies here. Now this again is spiral steel bones, but it is a very lightweight bone, and looking at it, you might think that there's no boning in at all, or it is a light plastic bone if you think that plastic bones just feel light. This is actually a spiral steel bone, a tiny bone that we use in our waspies. And again, this is very lightweight. It bends considerably. It bends all different directions, so it does the job that it's supposed to do. But for plastic boning, the difference is once you bend plastic, it doesn't spring back. So if you were going to be wearing a corset, once it's bent like that, you have the bend, and especially over time, you'll get that bend will stay there, and it'll get worse and worse. So that is your plastic bone, so that will eventually break off. And years ago, I bought a designer waspy from a designer brand, and I bought it on sale, so it had been worn by someone else and it had come back. And the boning, they had actually used plastic boning, even though this item was a few £100s, a few $100, and the boning is snapped inside the garments, which is not great at all. So if you were to use the spiral steel, that just springs back into shape. So you can see it springs back, and you don't get that break or that sharp V like you do with plastic. So around the corset we have our spiral steel boning, because this moves with your body and moves and flexes. In corsets we also use flat boning, which is like this, as the name implies, it is flat. And this boning we use, what Katie did, we put a flat bone next to the bust here, and we also put a flat bone either side of the eyelets. And flat bones tend to be, they still move from back to front, but there is absolutely no movement from side to side. So this is a spiral steel, and as you can see, they both move, so when you bend, they'll move. The flat bone isn't designed to bend as much as a spiral or spring back into shape as much, which is why it tends to be used on areas which don't bend so much. But it has no side-to-side movement, and you can see here with a spiral there is side-to-side movement. So this is why it's essential to have a flat bone either side of the eyelets, because that basically keeps the eyelets pulling out of shape. At What Katie Did, we use spiral steel boning in all our shapewear and our corsets. So that includes, our underbust girdles, our corselets, our Merry Widows, our little glamour waist cinches. Everything has spiral steel boning. We don't use plastic boning at all. The only plastic boning we use in our lingerie is in the side bones for our bras. If you do have any questions about our lingerie or corsets and the construction and how they're made, please get in touch. And in the meantime, please take care and catch up with you soon.